Hello. Okay, instead of changing my outfit and doing whatever I was going to do, I was talking about some of these themes in the previous sweater video, which are things that I was talking about in like the first two or three videos that I kind of wanted to revisit in more, not more detail, but like a continuation of what I was discussing about capsule wardrobes and thrifting and whatnot. Kind of the opposite of thrifting a little more today. Kind of, when is the point when we eliminate and donate? So many of these articles and videos talk about, get rid of everything and start from scratch. And like I said, some of them will admit that that's not entirely realistic. And that's kind of the take I have on it is, you know, who really does that? But once in a while it does kind of happen naturally, like when I was, like I said in I think the first video, when I was in high school, you'd only get so many kind of clothes at the beginning of the school year, and if you needed to add something, you kind of did. But by the end of the school year, you had holes in your jeans, so they weren't really going to last. You might have one pair that lasted into the next year, and they'd have holes by Christmas or whatever instead. But for the most part, you'd kind of get three pairs of jeans, and they'd last until they didn't. But then after high school, uh, things kind of get a little more amorphous because you need, or during high school, I guess some people work, but you're typically having a uniform job. If you're starting off, you're at McDonald's or Subway or someplace, so it's not quite, you know, business suits and things. And so I have, obviously there's no 100% solution or answer or whatever. We're just kind of starting from a point of like, okay, if you spontaneously generated at age 23, what would you do? And like I said, that's not always entirely realistic. But what happened to me, oddly enough, is after 2 years in the dorms, I forget if this had happened before, but I distinctly remember I don't hang up my t-shirts anymore. I like don't have room in the closet for them anymore because I have like sport jackets and things. But I used to basically have all my t-shirts kind of lined up, and I could just kind of tug them off the hanger, and it didn't only have the metal hangers. I think we had kind of switched to the plastic hangers by then, so it was relatively easy to just kind of pull off a shirt and go. And I went to yank the shirt off, and like the entire shoulder just like, oh really, like I didn't think this shirt was that old or that beat up. I had disintegrating clothing before. Like I said, in the summer it usually kind of ends up that way, and you have holes here. A lot of times I get the raggedy collar, but the rest of the shirt's still good. So it's like, okay, I can still, I'm not going to wear this, professionally, but I can still wear this. But usually if you get kind of a hole, down here, that's a little more embarrassing or whatever. Um, but yeah, I had a whole, and so I was like, okay, well that stinks. Go on to the next one. And so like literally this happened with like two or three shirts. It's like, okay, I didn't realize, that just through, laundering these shirts had all kind of compromised, that they couldn't take this abuse. And so, you know, thrift stores are never going to get a lot from me because typically, if I'm pulling it on the hanger and it's shredding, or like I said with the pants, if it's got a hole in the seat, I can't really donate as much as, oh, well, when are you supposed to donate the stuff? When it's still good? I guess technically, like a lot of people, I guess, will wear it for that season. And then when the summer comes and they buy the shorts, they just get rid of those pants. Well, I could never really afford to quite do that, even if the pants aren't, like I said, going to last until Christmas. Anyway, I'm still going to have pants to wear in September and October or whatever. Sorry, they got to rip now, and try and find some use for that fabric. Maybe I used to try and patch, especially like hiking shorts. I would try and patch them, and that would extend their life for maybe two or three more hikes at the most. Though it kind of doesn't really work once they're that frayed. You start to get too many stress points and things. So I don't have any real answer, but yeah. So for a while there, I kind of did what I called the tug test with my shirts. I'd sometimes I'd be annoyed because I'd want the shirt to die and it would just keep living. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm wearing you because you came off in my hand, and then just put it on, and maybe it'll die next time, like, whereas you'd have like a really nice, like I had this really nice Star Wars print shirt, and I think that was the one that ripped the first time. I was like, no, not like, and I had 2 or 3 Star Wars ones that were really nice, and they all kind of died at the same time. It was like, no, but of course I don't, buy a lot of print T-shirts anymore. Oh yeah, I guess I want to make it clear that the tug test wasn't just trying to willy nilly destroy clothing in my wardrobe too. Sometimes if it ripped more on the seam, I could debate, if I wanted to kind of try and sew that back, which doesn't really work very well with t-shirts. Anyway, and obviously the tug test, if those of you want to turn it into part of your routine for whatever reason, yes, it works better on the hanger, and what did I write here? I can't even understand my own notes from the other day. It's like, but I was saying, I was literally going to wear this shirt. I wasn't just trying to destroy it, and I was actually, surprised and shocked by, the amount of failure I had and needed new shirts. But I had noticed that sweatshirts almost never like survived. The tug test wouldn't work on a sweatshirt because it's too, thick or whatever. But when I would always try to like modify them with scissors or whatever, something would always go wrong, and I'd usually end up ruining a perfectly good sweatshirt. So it's kind of the opposite. That was a total high school thing when I wore a lot of sweatshirts. And so, uh, anyway, the photo, instead of a slideshow, I put in this photo. This was kind of an organizer thing I bought for $80 that I thought would really kind of help me be able to hang up the kind of shirts that, like I said, I don't really have room for in a closet anymore. The problem is it's kind of made more for like fashion shows at the beach or something, so it's a little more flimsy than I would like for heavy duty, real practical use. But it does have like a little hanger section, and so I have, a few kind of semi dress shirts in there, and that's about it. Not much else.